Food for thought. Don't compare yourself to who you were. Just don't. Because you have different circumstances. You are a different person than who you were. You have different abilities. You have different attributes. You have fully changed as a person. So do not compare your body, yourself, obviously same thing, but like the way you looked, your friends were, where you lived to now. Because everything that you have experienced, sorry, that's probably really loud. Everything that you've experienced has given you this opportunity that you currently have. And I think it is super easy to it's so easy to compare yourself to other people, but then comparing yourself to how you were. I was listening to this podcast and it was with Chris, I think his name was, and no, it was not Chris, it was some other guy. And he was also British. But, Diary of a CEO. One of the guests that were there, he had a stroke. And he went through this really dark time in his life after his stroke because he wasn't able to, he said that he swam like 3 times a week. He can't physically move. He can't, or not move as much. He can't do a lot of things that he did before his stroke. But the thing that he has is his imagination. The thing that he has is his ability and only ability to think. And he's able to produce beautiful things through his writing. And he's published 3 books. I think it's like 40 Ways of something. It's like one of those books. And that really made me think about how we as humans can be so hard on ourselves because we can't achieve the things that we were able to do. We weren't able to perform at the high level that we used to. And specifically like within sports, I think that depending if you did a sport or if you can relate to this, or even on like an academic or artistic level in a skill that you've had or you used to love, whether it was an instrument as a child or painting as a child, or you were really good at a sport, it is so easy to compare yourself now to, 5, 10, even a year, 6 months later, even a month later, honestly. And think about how much your skill has depleted and how you have changed. But you need to take into account everything that you've experienced this far. Because you might have different responsibilities and different things that you have to get done compared to what you had before, when you were a kid, or when you were at your prime, your personal prime. Because it's very like, where I'm like originally from, like, or not even really that, but it was like more of like a concept of like those people who peaked in high school are kind of like, because like it was just more of that like typical high school are the best years of your life, but you have like so many in front of you. So then how can you say that high school is the best part of your life and like that peaking? But you can't compare yourself to when your peak was, because maybe you still have so many amazing things to live. Maybe you have different peaks in your life. It's kind of like a mountain, okay? I'm like thinking if I could like edit like a drawing in or like Disney. Now you're watching Disney Channel. No, okay. Anyways, that's fine. But so like imagine this peak, okay? I wish I had my dry erase board, but I don't have it with me. But imagine you're like walking up, okay? And you think you're at your peak. And then you come back down off your peak. And and you're like, whatever, cool, I'm gonna continue, walk, walk, walk. And then you climb some more, and then you get to this one, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is my peak. But then your original peak was down here. But then your next peak is up here. And that is what I'm saying, is that your prime might have passed you, but your peak has not. Because you are going to be at so many different stages in your life when different responsibilities can shift. Like when I was younger in like high school, I did a sport and I was very dedicated to it. I did it in the mornings and in the evenings, and I drove to like practices, and the maximum amount of practices that I did in a day were like 3 practices for like 6 hours in total, like, because like one of them was like 2.5 hours in the morning, and then another one was like an hour and a half, and then another one was like an hour and a half in the evening. So I was like close to like, I don't know, it was a bunch of my day. It was a lot of my day actually. And I did that when I was in high school during the summertime, and I loved it. That's why I did it. But if I tried doing, I was like in the best shape of like my stamina and all the things that I could do and yada yada. I still do in like that like sport currently, but I don't train as often. I might train like a few times a week and then like hit the gym. And sometimes I can get caught up like comparing myself to who I was in high school. But at the same time, I had different responsibilities. I can't train for that many hours a day anymore. I can train a lot of hours, but maybe not that many, and still stay sane. And it's taken me a while because I can't perform as good as I used to in high school, and that's okay. Because I've realized and I've tried to understand that I have school as a big stressor. During the summertime, I could train as much as I wanted to, not a single thought. All I had to think about was training and eating and sleeping, not stress. But stress takes a toll on you. And so when you have physical stress and mental stress, you can't recover and you can't perform as well. Just how life is. And it's taken me a while to breathe it out and know that yes, I might not be able to do as good as I used to. Sorry, that's so loud. As well as I used to. But I'm capable of doing so many different more things. Think about it. Whatever stage in life you thought you were at your best peak or your prime. I'm like changing it up, whatever. At your prime time. Like, imagine yourself hearing all the things that you have done, you have accomplished, you have created, that you have built from scratch. I literally don't care. Like, even if you think that your job, like your younger self would be so embarrassed of yourself now, think about everything that you've had to go through, and that they see that they can persevere, that they did persevere, and they will persevere. I was like reading one of these books from Joe Dispenza, and he was talking about how he had this experience, and he like had this experience of like being a kid and like watching his inner child and yada yada yada. But the thing is, your younger self would be so proud of you. Where I was getting to that was with the Joe story, was him just having an external experience of seeing his child self and then knowing that his child self is going to be fine and that life is going to change and you are going to transform into someone that your child self would be so proud of. I don't care what has happened to you, what you've gone through. your child self would see how cool you are because of everything that you have gone through and you have dealt with. And I love this quote, and it's like targeted towards women, but put it to your like pronouns. But it was like, be the woman who you would look up to. And I want you to think about how your younger self would see you. Whether that makes you want to improve your life, whether it makes you want to continue your life, that's up to you. But be the person you wish you had as a role model as a child. Because you're going to give back in so many different ways than you can imagine. And I think that's so important to remember, that you, as your younger self in your prime, have so many more mountains to climb and to experience as peaks. Because you might be in a valley right now. You might be coming off of a really nice high and then going down to a struggle. But then slowly crawling and then falling and then doing that whole journey. And bit by bit, you're making it. And I really hope you know that it's hard. It's hard not to compare yourself to who you were, to the previous peak that you were. But that was not your prime. Because your prime is still yet to come. Yeah. You were just at that peak of that specific mountain. So just remember to keep climbing this mountain. That yeah, there will be avalanches. There will be people that you will leave behind. Whether they turn around or they just don't want to continue. But you'll always keep them with you in one way or another. But I hope you know to always continue this mountain to get to the next peak. And not to say that your prime is always moving forward with you, one step in front of the other. But rather, your prime is at that current peak. And then your prime is at that next peak. And then I hope you know that whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen. And not to worry, because your life is building into something amazing. You just have to trust. And that is the hardest thing to do, is to trust. And it is so much easier said than done. But when it comes down to it, the only thing that you can do is step forward. To take that one more step onto that mountain. Because if you look back and you fall back and you see how little that peak was really, you see how far you've come. Yes, you're going to have a lot more of a mountain, but at the same time, stay where you are. It kind of reminds me of altitude. When you're climbing like the Himalayas, everybody does that. No, I'm kidding. But I had a friend who's like from Nepal, and so like that area has the Himalayas, or I think so. I'm Mount Everest, I really don't know. A really big mountain, like a very important one. I don't know if it's the Himalayas. I'm not good at geography. Anyways, it has a really, Mount Everest, I think that's what it is. I don't know. They have a really big mountain. And he told me, you have to acclimate to every single step. And that's what we are doing right now. We are going from step to step to step. And sometimes we're going to be stuck at certain places. But the thing is that we continue. And when we look back, we see how far we've made it. And the view is beautiful. But then we see this big mountain. And we're like, oh my gosh. But you have to remember when you were little, or a week ago, or however long ago, you thought this mountain was huge. And you just have to put one foot in front of the other. And one day you'll see how far you've climbed. But the thing is, you can't compare to where you are to where you were to where you are, because of your experiences in between. So always give yourself grace and love and gratitude for who you are and who you were and who you will become. Food for thought.